Okay, so welcome to our introduction to Bhagavad-gita, short talk based on teachings of Srila Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON. When we speak about Bhagavad-gita, there's a lot of topics to speak about, actually. It's a vast subject. We can speak on and on. The most important, I would say, knowledge initially in Bhagavad-gita is our identity. Who are we? So we're just going to look at that today concerning who we are. Okay, so in order to give that, so I don't know, some of you may already know some further information, but we're starting with this basic information, which it's important as a foundation before understanding any other topics in spirituality or in Bhagavad Gita. So the first, I want to give an analogy first before we start. Say we have someone called Ravi, a friend of ours, and he's alive, and next second he's dead. So what is the difference between when he was alive and when he was dead? What is, in other words, what is the difference between a live person and a dead person? This is a very important question because we are all alive. And what is that thing that is giving us life? What is that I, when we say I, what is that? So this is an important question, which has not been answered by modern science. They have a lot of investigations and research going on, but what is that I? When we say I, what is that? What is life? A person is alive and he's dead. Now, if you look at the dead body, everything is there, okay? Everything is there in the live body, in the dead body, that is there in the live body. Okay, someone answered, I'll come to that actually in the lecture now. So everything that is there in the dead body was there in the live body. For example, the stomach, the head, the hair, everything is there, and yet he's dead. Now, every time when we say, when we call our friend, say Ravi, we always saw him as the body. When we saw the body, we thought that's Ravi. Okay, but the same body is there. So now why we're saying that he's not there? Most of us see the body as the self. The same body is lying there. But now when the person dies, they'll either burn or bury the body. So why is that? If we are saying that he's the body, that's how we identify the self as. So still the body is there, but we say, no, he has gone. We say he has gone. Even a small child says he has gone. My grandfather's gone, even though the body is there. Because we understand that he has gone. So what is giving life in that body, which is not anymore there, that we say that he is not there? Okay, so now let's look at that. In one word, I could say that the difference between a living body and a dead body is consciousness. The consciousness is absent in the dead body. Okay, that is what it is. Okay, because we can say he's not walking, talking, he's not speaking, he's not digesting. In short, he's not conscious. So consciousness is not there in a dead body, but he's there in a live body. So according to modern scientists, consciousness comes from chemicals. If you ask a scientist, how is the body alive? They will say it's a combination of chemicals. And after the Big Bang happened, then a group of chemicals came together and they mixed together. Then there was a lightning bolt and suddenly life came. So that's that's what modern science says. They say that life has come from a combination of chemicals. So we have a question for the scientists. What are those chemicals? So they may answer us. Okay, then the next question is, I'll give you those chemicals. Can you make life? Can you make life in the laboratory? No, they cannot. So how do we say that life comes from chemicals when we provide the same chemicals and they cannot create it? Okay, so according to Bhagavad-gita, consciousness is a symptom of the soul. There is a particle of consciousness in all living entities, which is called the soul or spirit. And that entity provides consciousness. It is giving animation to the whole body. The whole body gets consciousness from this small particle called the soul. Okay, so the body is alive because of the soul. And in death, that soul leaves the body. Okay, so then there is no consciousness. In Bhagavad-gita chapter 2, text 13, there is a verse which introduces the question of the soul and how that the self and the soul are two distinct entities. Okay, I'm going to show you this now by sharing the screen. Okay, so here is a verse from Bhagavad-gita, chapter 2, text 13. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. Translation: as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Now here the key word, two keywords, dehina, embodied, dehe, body. Now that means when we're talking about the body, we're talking about two things. One is the actual body, and in the body, there's another entity called the embodied. That means he is inside the body, he is illuminating the body, he is animating the body. That is the soul. So the soul is inside the body, and there is a body. What does this say? We are not the body. It's the first lesson of Bhagavad-gita. We are not the body. Rather, we are controlling the body. The body is simply a vehicle. The soul is residing in the body and making it move, just like I drive a car or I drive a scooter. So the first lesson of Bhagavad-gita regarding our identity is I am not this material body. This material body is separate from my identity. It's simply a vehicle. In fact, in Bhagavad-gita, it's known as a yantra. Okay, so if I were to ask one of you, normally we do this at the class, but this is online. Okay, supposing if I point at my head, at the head and say, what is that? You'll say my head. What is this? My shoulder, my chest, my nose, my knee, etc. Then if I ask you, okay, this is your head, your shoulder, your chest, your knee. Then if I ask you, but where are you? Then people enter into confusion. They don't know what to say because they assume that they are the body. That is a modern understanding. However, we say my head, my chest, my means my, it's possessive. They're not saying I chest, I. Okay, that is common area. So by this small exercise, we can understand that people have that idea that we are not the body, but it's not ingrained. It's not properly, explained to them. Okay, the body is simply a machine to be used, just like one rides a motorbike or drives a car. Supposing we drive a car and we leave it outside, the car will stay there. It's not going to go anywhere because it's a vehicle. So similarly, in Bhagavad-gita, there's a verse. It says that Ishva Sarva Bhutanam Hirdeshe Arjuna Tishtati Ramyam Sarva Bhutani Yantra Arudhani Mayaya. It says that the living entity is moving about on a machine, that is yantra. The living entity is moving about on a machine, which is it's driven about by the soul. Yantra arudhani mayaya. So this yantra or machine is made of material energy, and the soul is driving it around. So it's made of matter. We are not matter. We are spirit. So due to the presence of the soul, only this body is moving like a vehicle. as I said, if I leave the car and come here, come inside the house, so the car will remain where it is because it cannot move itself. So when the soul leaves the body is useless. It's simply a machine. It's not going to move anywhere. It's dead matter. Okay, so supposing someone parks badly, parks their car badly, and if I want, and they're sitting in the car, I won't go to the car. Please, can you move? No, I'll go to the driver because I understand the driver is the controller out of knowledge. But people don't all understand that inside the body there's a soul, and the soul is illuminating it. Whereas before this was common knowledge in the Vedic age, now it's something fantastic, amazing. But the fact is that in the body there's a soul. Still, there are places around the world where people who live in the jungle, who have not seen cars and cities and civic centers where cars and buildings are there. So when these people come into a city, say these are like in Africa, in Brazil, maybe in the North Pole. So when a vehicle comes, what do they think? That how can this piece of metal move on its own? They just see a piece of metal moving. But they don't understand there's a soul in there. In North America, when the trains started, the steam, they called it steam engine. The trains were running on steam. So they would go through the desert, and then the native people there, called Red Indians, they would see that train and think that a huge black snake was coming. They couldn't understand that it's a piece of metal and inside there's a person. So in the same way, now people are in ignorance. They can't understand that this body is simply a vehicle. Inside there's a driver. They can't understand that. And so it seems like impossible or amazing, but it's actually a fact. Okay, so now, if someone is driving this car, their car, and they crash the car, so what do? They fix the car. Similarly, if I'm in this vehicle body and some damage comes, so what do? I get it fixed by a doctor. And if for some reason I'm in this vehicle, yantra, and this vehicle gets damaged or worn out beyond use, beyond repair, so I require a yantra, machine. So what do? I get another body. The soul takes another body. Okay, so what will that new body depend on? Just like when I get a new car, it will depend on two things. One is what I want. Second, how much money I have. So when we take a new body, depends on two things. One is our desires. In this present life, we accumulate many desires. Accordingly, we will take birth in a certain country and in a certain religion, a culture, or a certain planet. At the same time, we'll take birth according to our karma. That means I desire something, but what is my karma? Will I get a human body? Maybe not necessarily. I may get an animal body. I may get a tree body. That depends on karma. This is written in Bhagavad-gita. One has to properly study this and understand it. Okay, now, some of you might be shocked and say, a new body, what are you talking about? Reincarnation. How is that true? How can we believe reincarnation? Because they don't teach this in school. So many people don't want to believe it or cannot accept it. But of course, there are many things which were not taught in school, which are in different scriptures and bodies of knowledge around the world. So they're not necessarily false. They keep adding things to the school syllabus, which means they're finding out new things all the time. So how can we get a new body after we die? The question might be. Okay, so let me explain. First of all, I mentioned that we are not the body. Okay, we are not the body. We are a soul inside the body. Okay, so what happens at the time of death when the soul is in the body and the body dies? Okay, so in Bhagavad-gita chapter 2, text 20, first of all, I want to show you a verse because we are speaking about the soul. Now we have to understand about the soul. Okay, so in chapter 2, text 20 of Bhagavad-gita, there's a verse, okay, which says, and I'll share it here so you can see. It says, "Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyah ajo nitya shashvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire." For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. This is a direct quote explaining about the soul. What is the nature of the soul? It does not take birth. It does not die. Or rather, we do not take birth. We do not die. When the body is slain or killed, the soul is not killed. Okay, so this is giving in 220. What does it say? According to Bhagavad-gita, we are deathless. We don't die and we don't take birth. We are eternal beings. This is an important point in the science of self-realization that Bhagavad-gita establishes in the beginning, that we are deathless. We cannot die. The body dies. We, the soul, does not die. We live on. Okay, so that is the nature of the soul. In this one lifetime, we occupy so many bodies, just as one occupies apartments. So if you ask somebody, how old are you? Okay, he may say, I'm 20 years old. Now, if I ask one of you that there was a time when you were 1 year old, okay, so that was a different body. A 1 year old body has a small hand, a small head. You cannot say it's the same body. So where is that 1 year old body? If I ask, where is it? It's, can you show me? You cannot. That body is gone. That body is gone, and we have now changed our body. We changed it to this 18-year-old body or 20-year-old body. At a certain time, you may have a 50-year-old body or an old body. In this way, we keep having different bodies. Okay, but we are calling it growth. We call this growth in the modern day. But what's happening? This is actually the body changing. In other words, this is a phenomena that is mentioned in the Bhagavad Purana, that this body, which is on us, it's regularly changing. It changes every second, although I cannot see. In the same way that in a river, the water flows every second. You cannot say it's the same water. So this body that is on me now, in 1 second, it's a different body and a different body. But every second the body changes. And then if we meet after 10 years, you'll see that I'll be different. I look different. Then you will understand that I changed the body. But I cannot tell every second. In the same way, like when there's a movie is many pictures moving together very fast. So when there's a movie, if actually it's many pictures moving, but we cannot see because it's happening very fast. So similarly, this body is changing very fast, just like in a river, the water flows. And another example, when a candle is burning, so the fire, you see it forms, then comes less. It forms, then, but that happens very fast. Actually, every second, the fire is changing in a candle, in a fire, in a flame. In a flame, the fire is changing the size at every second. The flame is changing. So these are 3 examples to state that the body changes every second. Okay, so we are changing the body every second. And even science knows that the cells are dying and forming every second. And according to modern science, every 7 years, we have a brand new body. It's completely new. Okay, but back to our main point. The point is, what happens at the time of death when the soul is present in the body? And I said about reincarnation. So having explained this background about how the body changes every second on the soul, I want to explain go back to one verse. I mentioned soul is eternal. It doesn't take birth and it doesn't die. Okay? So what does it do? Now, as the body is changing constantly in one life, like when you're 1 year old, you're the same person. You understand. When you're 2 or 3 years old, you remember, I remember this, I remember that. But we had a different body, and now it's a different body. And like this, the body keeps changing. But we do not change. we are constant. We remember, we accumulate some memories and some experience, but we understand that I am not the body, this body is changing, but the intrinsic internal part of the body remains the same, the soul, my identity. Okay, so based on this, I want to go back to a verse that I showed you to summarize what I said about what happens at the time of death to the soul, and in general, what happens to the body and the soul when what we call death happens. So back to chapter 2, text 13 of Bhagavad-gita, which says, as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age. Okay, let's look at this. As we are growing, the body is changing and changing. And what do? We just keep occupying the body. We are not affected at all. Okay, we pass from different, in this one life, we have taken so many bodies. A 1-year-old body, 10-year-old, 20, we'll take a 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old body. Okay, in this one life, we occupy many bodies. Okay, so next part. The soul similarly passes into another body at death. Now, we say at the point of death, the soul takes a new body. And people are surprised. Why is that? But then, we already established that in one life, we have different bodies which change every second. And the soul simply, gracefully passes into all these different bodies and is not affected, because the soul is not affected by the body. So at death, the soul takes another body, just as it has been taking different bodies within this one life. So this is how this point of reincarnation is explained logically in Bhagavad-gita. And there are many other explanations throughout. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So one who is sober, in other words, dhira is a sober. It means somebody who has a lot of knowledge, so is not bewildered when he sees reincarnation or any other process happen due to knowledge. Okay, so therefore, we can see that in this one life, we occupy so many bodies. So at death, we take another body, just as we did throughout our life. Okay, so this is reincarnation. It's mentioned throughout Bhagavad-gita. It is a scientific process. It's not that only Hindus reincarnate or Indians. Everyone reincarnates. It's a science. Bhagavad-gita is not, in one way you can call it a religious book, but Bhagavad-gita is a science of the soul. And it helps us to inculcate religious principles of awakening our relation to God and coming out of our suffering condition, to awaken our spiritual nature of unmotivated and unending loving service to God. But in order to do that, we have to get a lot of background information about how we came into this situation now where we are in a body in this material world and how we can come out of it. So this is given in Bhagavad-gita. Okay. Now I want to give some more explanations about Bhagavad-gita that in relation to the soul and the body. So to understand that, let's look at this idea of apartment. You have something called a serviced apartment. A serviced apartment is a normal flat or apartment where everything is done for you. They'll empty the rubbish, they'll take care of electricity and water, and we simply have to pay one charge, and they'll take care of security. So like that, many people live together in a building and they pay one amount for all of these things. Okay, so serviced apartment. So we cannot understand how the serviced apartment is functioning, how the air conditioner and the electricity and the water system is working, and who empties the rubbish, where it goes. We just live there. Okay, so similarly, we are staying in this material body in the same way. We don't understand how the digestion is happening, perspiration, heating system of the body, the cooling system of this body. Okay, are we doing it? Are we digesting? Are we sweating? Actually, we don't know. We are just staying in the body. And the truth is, no, it's because all this is being run. We are given this body by nature. Nature is under God, Krishna. And we simply live in this body, and the body is being taken care of. So just like a service department. And just like in an apartment, sometimes we're given this apartment or house by a company that is employing us, or it's owned by a certain person and we pay money to him. But he may say, no, you have to leave. It's his apartment. He may say you have to leave. And so we have to leave. We cannot say no. So that, it's not up to us. So similarly, we are living in this body, which is being run by nature. Actually, it's being run by the super soul. That's another thing, a whole other topic. So now when we are told to leave this body, we have to leave it. We cannot say no, because it's not ours. It's given to us for a short time. And why is it given to us? Actually, it's given to us to awaken our self-realization. Again, that's another topic in Gita. And that's what we are meant to be doing in this world, in this life, goal of life. So in this way, the body is a machine given to us temporarily by God for us to realize God. And at some point, we'll be told to leave, and then we'll be given another body, another opportunity. We may take it or not. Okay, now some more information about the soul. Where does it reside in the body? Some people say soul resides here. Some say here. Everyone has their theory. But we should base all knowledge on the Vedas, because religion has to be based on scripture. Otherwise, everyone will have their own opinion and form their own society. And actually, if we want to come to God, we have to listen to what he's saying, because he has given the instructions about himself and how to come to him in the scriptures. There are different scriptures all over the world, so they're true. We see that the Vedas are vast. They have a lot of information. So we accept this point that the Vedas are most advanced because they speak most about the soul and so many other topics pertaining to spiritual subjects. Even about God, there's so much information. Okay, so where does the soul reside in the body? Okay, the soul, according to the Upanishad, Mundak Upanishad says, Atmasya Janter Nihito Guhayam. The soul resides in the area of the heart. It resides in this area. It's not part of the heart. It's in that area. So many people ask questions. What happens if I do a heart transplant? The soul remains where it is. It doesn't move. It's immutable. And then you put another heart. So it's in that region because it's a different material. It's not matter. So when you remove the heart, it's not affected. It's spirit. Spirit and matter. Spirit is subtle to matter. It can go through matter. So the soul is located in the region of the heart. Okay, and the size of the soul is also given in the Upanishads. Balagra shatabhagasya shatata kalpitasya cha bhagojiva savignya sachanantyaya kalpati. If we take bala, bal means heart, hair, bala agra, the tip of the hair, balagra shatabhagasya, and we divide it into 100 parts, the tip of the hair. Because hair, we cannot see, but the hair comes like this. So at the tip, if we take it and divide it into 100, then take another part of that and divide it into 100, that is the size of the soul. That means it's 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair. It's very small. We cannot see it even if we had any, whatever instrument or microscope. Even if we had that kind of material, it is spiritual and we cannot see spirit because we are contaminated. We are in a material consciousness. We have to awaken our spiritual nature to see it. So the size of the soul is given and the location. Okay. While this soul is residing in the heart, it's giving consciousness to the whole body. Okay, because of the soul, just like fire, for example, if in a room I light a fire, you will feel the heat far, not only where the fire is, and the light will also be spread around. So similarly, where the soul, although residing in the heart, spreads its influence and consciousness all over the body. And in that way, the tip of my toe, the nail is growing. And if I get a pinprick, I'll feel it on the toe. So in that way, I can feel my toe and I can feel any other part of my body, because consciousness is pervading due to the presence of the soul. Because of the soul, hair is growing, digestion is happening, I'm sweating, and growth, production of so many different enzymes all over the body. The body is operating because of the consciousness of the soul. So many things are happening. Okay, so this is, if the soul leaves, then nothing will work. It will be a dead body, and no one will care. If I stab a dead body, nothing will happen. But if I put a knife in a live body, I'll go to jail. It'll be a big problem, because people understand that a dead body is useless, but a live body has consciousness. And actually, they don't know the full idea, which is that there's a presence of the soul in the live body. Okay, so the body is not important. The soul is important. This body, we're giving it so much attention. We are trying to take care of it, trying to comb our hair and to look so good and dress up and keep it in great comfort. But we totally ignore the soul. The soul is important, not the body. The body is a temporary vehicle which must die. The soul is eternal. That is us. We are not the body. We are the soul. Okay. Now, we are not saying to ignore the body fully. We don't do that. We don't ignore the body. But we take care of it and preserve it enough so that we can use it for self-realization, which is the goal of life. That is the goal of life. All right. If we observe our modern so-called education system, everything is based on the body. Okay, education means studying the body and studying things which the body uses, like minerals, and economy is to get money so I can feed the body, keep the body in a good house, and manage economy and wealth. It's all pertaining to the body, not the soul. Education means study of the body in the modern world. Biology is all to do with the body. Okay, and when we say development of nation or economy, it's simply, it means bigger cars, better malls, air-conditioned offices, aeroplanes, communication. Why? So that the body can enjoy more, so that I can have a good, comfortable, big house, money, adequate wealth, and comfort. This is the meaning of economy in the modern age. And this is the meaning of development. We say that this country is a developed country. It means we can stay more comfortable. Everything's pertaining to the body. And a politician, a good politician, is one who helps us to enjoy more. You know, they'll say, we'll reduce taxes. We'll remove tax on beer and alcohol. We'll give free education. We'll give out money to everyone. So in this way, a good politician, again, is on the body concept we judge it, that they'll bring more happiness to the body. Okay. So, but the point is that we are not the body. We said this point. And we're basing this whole material life on bodily enjoyment. How to enjoy the body. I have 5 senses. And these 5 senses, I'm trying to eat and see and touch and hear good things which will please me. But that's the body, not the soul. We get some ephemeral type of happiness, which is not real happiness, because it's illusory. This body is not my actual identity. Our only concern is for the body in this current civilization. It's called a cage polishing civilization in the scripture. Cage polishing. Why? And so answer is that there's a story behind this. Once a king was given a cage with a bird, and he called some of his servants and said, take care of this. So after 1 week, he said, can you bring it? Can you bring that cage? So they brought the cage, and he saw the bird, and the bird was about to die in the cage. So he wondered, oh, what's going on? So he called the servants. He said, I told you to take care of it. What did you do? They said, we cleaned the cage. And then they said, then we polished the cage. And then the king said, and then what? And then what did you do? Then we put so many jewels all over the cage. Then the king said, yes, but what about the bird? What did you do to the bird? They said, we didn't take care of the bird. So isn't that foolishness? That we take care of the bird, of the cage, but not the bird. So this modern civilization is like this. So much care for the body, health, insurance, comfort, advancement, but nothing about the soul, nothing. And people are wondering now why we are so unhappy. Why is there terrorism? Why is there crime? Why are people not happy? Why is there depression? Why is there suicide? Materialistic civilization can never bring happiness. It has nothing to do with the soul and spiritual things. The whole purpose of civilization is wrong. It's advancing on the material platform. Even we may have some material advancement, but it's not the main thing, and it's not the only thing that should be going on. So this civilization is misguided. And if we live our life in such a way, only taking care of how much I learn and where I'll get a good house and all these things, although we have to do these things, but if this is the only thing we do, then we'll not be happy. Theoretically, we can understand that. We are not the body. So how are we going to become happy like this? Health, development, maintenance, comfort, nothing for the soul. Okay, so why aren't we happy? Why are people suffering? Why are people changing jobs, changing countries, shifting here and there? Because they're not satisfied. Inside, they're very disturbed. The soul is spiritual, so it needs spiritual nourishment. In the past, we can see that if you look at our ancestors, grandfather, great-grandfather, they'll be born in one place. They'll grow up in that place, they'll study there, they'll get married in the same house, same village, then they'll work in that village, then they'll get married, they'll have kids, same house, same village, you'll have 3-4 generations. Everyone was happy. They'll not think, I have to go here, I have to do this, I have to change my job, I need to advance. No, everyone was peaceful. And now it's not like that, okay, and then they'll even die in the same house. Now, let's look at the modern day. It's very common. Someone will be born maybe Rajasthan, then he'll go and study in Delhi, then he'll get married in maybe Karnataka, then he'll go and work in Tamil Nadu, or he'll say, I have to go to Australia to work. Then he'll send his kids to London for study or America. This is complete, it is a complete waste of energy and time. But why are people doing this? It's because they're feeling empty inside. In the previous ages, there was a heavy component of religiosity and culture. And people understood that spiritual meaning of life, and they operated on that spiritual platform, observing festivals, studying Bhagavad-gita, and attaining spiritual perfection. At old age, people all attain spiritual perfection by reading and engaging in chanting, in japa or puja. But in the modern age, people thought we're more advanced. We don't need this. We are modern. And so they done away with all the religious and cultural aspects of life. And they went ahead in materially so much, and they thought everything's very nice now. But here I am in Bangalore with the highest suicide rate, which is, by the way, also, Bangalore is also the IT hub of India, and so advanced it is. So metro, everything is really nice here, materially. But why are the highest suicide rate in Bangalore? And why, when we go to the mental hospital, we see so many people between the age of 20 and 35? It's not natural life to be materialistic. So this vacuum has been created now, and in our generation, the incidence of stress, depression, and suicide is highest compared to than ever before. Okay, we need to get knowledge of the soul. We need to get knowledge also of the super soul of God, and what is the purpose of our taking birth in this world. We need to know what is our duty. Everyone is doing whatever they want and whatever they feel. But what should we be doing? Everything has a purpose. So what is the purpose of this body? It was given to us for a purpose. Why were we born in this world? Okay, we need to know how to do this, and then we will become happy. Because by nature, according to the Vedas, the Haladini Shakti, that means when one comes under the spiritual energy, when they become spiritualized, happiness comes automatically. I don't have to go and seek it in another job or change the family, change the wife, change my hobby, change the country, which is what people are doing now, moving all over the place. They're so disturbed by the lockdown because they can't move around. But in the village, as I said before, we live in one place and we're happy. Why? Because they were very much they were spiritually awakened. So they were getting that happiness naturally from inside. But now we're not getting it. We have to seek it in video games, these PUBG video games, or pornography, movies, and so many things. Still, we're not happy even after all these things, because we didn't understand the basic point of who we are. We are the soul. And what is the soul? Soul is eternal servant of God. Soul is meant to engage in serving God in bhakti, and then he becomes happy automatically. We don't have to seek happiness through money or any material things. Of course, we may continue this working and studying, whatever, but that is not the source of happiness. So are we taught this in the schools and colleges? We are not taught about this. Knowledge about the soul and God is not taught. Therefore, misdirected education system, misdirected civilization. We're not taught how to become spiritually happy and advanced, only material things. So what is the result? The result is people are frustrated. People are unhappy, stressed, even though they have the latest phones and much more material facilities than their parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents. Basically, we are developing materially, yet people are not happy. And therefore, as I mentioned, then we have increased crime, terrorism, suicide, depression, lack of direction in life, lack of enthusiasm. Materialism is killing our soul, this materialistic life. We have seen it. I meet many people in the course of our preaching. So Bhagavad-gita is, for many centuries, was used all over India as the perfect guide for living a spiritual, happy and peaceful and knowledgeable life, where we get spiritual perfection at the end of life. So Bhagavad-gita is a non-sectarian book. Actually, it's meant for every single soul. We call ourselves Indian, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, African, European. But Bhagavad-gita is meant for the soul. Who's the soul? All living beings are souls. Bhagavad-gita is meant to take the soul from state of Maya now, where he's conditioned and bewildered by material civilization, and to liberate him through proper knowledge and spiritual practice. In the past, everyone read Gita. You can ask your parents and grandparents. It was all over India, from north to south. Now, so many bogus and false societies have come up, saying that we are teaching spirituality, but they don't speak anything from the Vedas, and they don't speak anything spiritual. One cult personality figure becomes famous in that society, takes advantage and takes money and gets fame, and he doesn't teach anything. But previously, Bhagavad-gita was the main book. Everyone knew that. Okay, people were happy. And even till recently, anyone who wanted to get knowledge, they'd come to India for spiritual knowledge. They understood that this was the place to get enlightenment. And yet, our own people in India now have neglected it. Okay, so we have to get this knowledge. We have to become self-realized. We have to study the science of self-realization, which is given in Bhagavad-gita. This is the goal of life. Okay, Bhagavad-gita is meant to be studied at a young age. Now people are saying, I'll read it when I'm old. Then life is over. What will you do? We're meant to study it at age 7 or 8, just like Quran is taught at age 7 or 8. Bible is taught early. We're meant to get this science and knowledge and become spiritually fixed and happy, so that we are prepared for life. Okay, so this is a conclusion of the talk of the science of self-realization, knowledge of Bhagavad-gita, and the introduction, which is, who am I? The first lesson of Bhagavad-gita. Okay, so I conclude here now. If anyone has any question, then you can ask, or maybe Hans, you can ask on behalf of them. Okay, now, okay, so Hare Krishna. Okay.